First things first, Felix, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. I just arrived in Amsterdam. We came from Belgium. We're here the whole day to talk about the music and what's happening.
Well, before we talk about what you've been making lately, I'd like to jump back to 2019. Now, in 2019, you got the title of most booked festival artist in the world. Were you in need, because obviously then COVID happened, were you in need of a break?
So yeah, in 2019 I had they did the charts about the DJ touring and I was number one most touring, and it was super cool actually because in the top 5 it was like almost only Belgian acts. It was like also Dimitri Vegas like Mike and Charlotte DeWitt. So it was like Belgian power. But when the COVID hit in and we had to stay at home for the first few weeks, it was like very intense because then I was able to really take in what happened the last few years and being also aware of the luxury it is to travel from every country to another country with just a passport and just be able to get in and to do an amazing festival with fans and then just go to the next one. So I think when we will hit the road back, I will enjoy it even more. Even though when we were touring, I was very enjoying like the discovering new places, new cultures. So when I will go back on tour, I will enjoy it even more. Yeah.
When you reflected on what happened to you ever since 2014, and it's been like this, I would say, but how do you look back at it? Did all the things that were happening to you, did they become kind of normal for you?
So yeah, everything started really quickly when I started in 2014-15. Everything grew really quickly, but I have to say, if I had to do it all over again, I probably would do 95% the same. A few things not maybe, but mostly the same because I'm super happy with the people I'm surrounded right now. I'm super happy how everything is going right now, and I think it's also because of all the choices I made in the past. So I wouldn't change anything for how everything is set up right now for me. So I'm super glad about that. But yeah, I'm super happy about my team, how they treat me, and how I get in contact with all people I work around with all around the world. So I gotta say it went quickly, but everybody's been very nice with me, and it's been an amazing journey. Yeah.
Mm. When it came to kind of all the successes that you've had, how do you look back at that now, kind of having this time off and thinking about what you want to do next? How do you look at kind of the achievements you've already had, and then also the achievements you're still looking towards?
So yeah, so when I look back at all the achievements we did the last few years and what's coming next, it's kind of crazy to imagine what I would like to do, because what I would love to do again is maybe grow my live show. So when I have a live show with a guitarist, a drummer, I play keyboards, and we have some singers along the way that comes on stage. Maybe I want to grow that show as maybe something bigger than what it is, because we did a whole tour in 2019, which was amazing, and it was the first time we did it. And I think a lot of people enjoyed the fact that we were there not just DJing, but really having a whole show. And so maybe I want to grow that part of the Lost Frequencies project even more, and maybe release even more music and maybe some crazy collaboration with people I haven't even met yet. So I'm just super excited about what's coming up in the future.
Let's talk about that live show then, because well, first off, what gave rise to that notion, the fact that you wanted to perform live instead of just doing the DJ thing?
So there's a few things that get me into wanting to make a live show instead of doing DJ sets. One of the first things is I had some shows where I was playing before live acts or after live acts, or I was playing in a real venue, and you feel that the DJ set format sometimes it's not what people were expecting 100%. Like a lot of people they're having a lot of fun, but somehow I can understand, like sometimes you buy a ticket for a festival, it's not to see maybe a guy playing DJ set for sure on a crossover festival. I think that's where it hits the most if you're not playing on the dance stage, you know what I mean? And I had Netsky, who is one of my good friends, and he told me, man, you have to try to do a live show because it's amazing. It's an amazing experience, and he convinced me to try to take this step. And but it's not an easy step to do, to step over from DJ sets to a live show. So I met my drummer, who is my drummer during the live show, and he's like an Ableton freak. And he was like, man, you got to do a live show. but it was the first time that somebody said it to me, and that's not really in the scene that I know from. And I was like, do you know how we could start to build a live show, because I don't know where I should start. And he's like, yeah, I can help you. So we started by doing simple things on Ableton until where we are now, like with a complete band, etc. And it was a really nice process.
And I saw you play the keytar on stage, and obviously you have a background in playing the piano. Now I read also that you've started learning to play the guitar. How is that going?
So yeah, and on the live show I play guitars on stage, like in front of everybody. I try to keep like the simple melodies, but that has a lot of impact, like sound-wise for me, and because it's not too hard to play, and I can go in front, and I don't have to be too focused on the guitar, but I can really watch people. So it's been a lot of fun. And during the lockdown, I try to learn the guitar also, especially for the live show, so I can also grab a guitar, and with my guitarist we can, because now we have some backing guitars playing, which are the easy chords, and like I could easily take it over and play the guitar too with him, and then we take even more backlines away, and we play even more music live for the people.
This is gonna sound weird maybe, but what would you say is the difference when you hear kind of something being performed live as opposed to something kind of in a DJ set? What for you is the difference?
But for me the big difference is when you were in the crowd, it's to see where the sound is coming from. Like for example, the drummer, when he plays the drums, like he's maybe exaggerating a bit, but it's like, and if you watch him play, you hear sounds, you can link it together, you can understand where the sound is coming from. You see the guitarist playing, and you can just watch him play and having fun watching him play. And for me, that's something that has another vibe than when you watch a DJ. Or the DJ has to be very entertaining, or you just watch a guy like do nothing, So even though DJs, I'm not saying DJing is like super easy. I'm just saying like, for me, what's really important is when I go somewhere like that, the guy on stage is entertaining, not just the music, but also like his vibe. Maybe a DJ, maybe he looks at the crowd, he smiles. There is like a link with the crowd. But with the live show, we can even do more. I can go in front of stage and play like my lead with the guitar, like I said, and there is another connection. But I love to do both. I love to do the live show, and I love to do the DJ sets too, because the DJ sets I can even sometimes more connect with the crowd, because I have to think less about the music, because I can just play the tracks I want and then see the guys and having fun, and it's a completely other vibe. So yeah.
And now I've looked at it in both ways. As a DJ and a producer, one of the things I would assume that you love is just being locked away and just working on music all day. Now, obviously, we had a year where kind of that was happening. So with what you just mentioned in mind, how much do you miss that direct connection with the people?
Yeah, it's hard that we didn't have connection with the people for over a year now, because I've been making music. And now I have some tracks I think are ready, but I need to try them out. I need to know, like, is this arrangement good? Maybe I can make the build-up even longer. Maybe it's too long. Maybe I need to make it shorter. Maybe the drop, I lose energy. Maybe I can make it better, but I don't know, because I never tried it out. Like I listened, I showed it to a few people, but it's not the same listening in the car and playing it in front of 1,000 people. So it's another reaction, it's another vibe. So I'm really looking forward to be able to play those tracks and see if the arrangement is good and if the sound is hitting right,
And one of the things that you did during COVID was also build your own studio. Now, I can assume that has a big effect on how you produce, but this absence of live shows, did that have an effect on how the songs turn out?
Yes, the fact that I wasn't able to tour really changed my perception maybe on what I was producing, because I've been touring most of the time before, and I feel like the energy on the tracks I was producing was going up, because I was really feeling like I'm going to be on a big stage. I want to have the people going crazy, so I'm going up, and then suddenly I'm home for 1 year and I don't really need to produce the tracks anymore. So I go back to produce the music I produced maybe 5 years ago, which are more laid down and chilled down, but still very kind of clubbish. So it's really funny. My sound evolved in some kind of way, and I think maybe looking in a few years when I'm going to look back, I'm going to feel this change in the music that I maybe don't really feel 100% now. So it's super interesting to see how actually life around us really impacts the sound I'm producing in the studio when I'm alone.
Because well, what I find interesting about you, and you've always been a hard worker, I think, but last year as well, you've just kept going. You kept, okay, we can't tour. I'm going to release a remix album. I'm going to release this. I'm going to release that. So, what is your mindset, so to say, with the music that you do?
When I start to produce a track and I like the track, I usually gonna release it. I don't have a lot of unreleased music on my laptop that was produced a few years ago that never gonna see the daylight. If I finish a project, I want to push it out because I had enough vibes with the whole track to finish the production and to make it out. Because usually if I don't feel the vibe, I won't get any further than a few ideas because I don't like the sound. I'm not gonna do anything with it. So when I have music, for me it's super hard to not release it, so I just want to get it out, and I feel like this year was a perfect moment to release tracks, and I took a lot of remix requests from people because I was at home, and I had a remix request from Ellie Goulding, which is super cool, from Major Lazer, so I took all these requests, made remixes, had a good time, released them, and maybe have new fans discovering my music through those artists, so it's been a cool process.
And for you, is it almost like a school in a way as well, that for instance Ellie Goulding, Major Lazer, you kind of get to understand how they made their song and why they made certain decisions? Does that help you in what you do as well?
Yeah, when I get stems from people, sometimes I take the stems and I listen to it, and then I deconstruct the track to see what's where, and especially for Major Lazer, I look at the track and I'm like, what? Like, because there's a lot of stuff in there's music you don't hear, but that really adds texture. Mm-hmm. But like it's very harmonic and it's very like in the back, and it's funny because it's usually those things I'm gonna take and put in front and make my remix with, and it's crazy to think like they put it all the way in the back, even though it's super interesting textures and interesting things that I will sample and use otherwise in other ways, and it's been super fun to be able to do these kind of things. I love to do remixes from people I appreciate because I get to work with productions, first of all, that are high quality. You know, you get amazing samples, you get amazing stems, you get amazing voices. When I did the remix for LSD, I had Labyrinth's voice and I had Sia's voice. Right. I mean, I was like, what's going on here? You know, like I have those amazing voices in my project, and they come straight from the studio, and I can do whatever I want with it. And it's almost like doing collaboration with those guys. You know, so. I'm super excited, yeah. When
it comes then to your own work, and now Rise is the first in what I would assume is maybe an album or whatever you're gonna do with it. But in terms of kind of working on your own music, do you then have in your mind, because you work with, like you mentioned, Sia's voice and all those, you work with all these kind of things, do you have a very clear vision of what you want when you produce, or do you... Okay.
Yeah, when I'm producing, I have a very clear vision of what I don't want.
Okay.
And I think it's also important.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because there's a lot of things I would like to do, but there's not one specific I want to do. But there's a lot of things I know for sure I don't want to go. Don't want to go with. I don't want to do. I don't want to spend time on. So that's super easy for me to say yes, no at some points, because I know if I like it or not, and I know if I'm not going to use it. But then I don't know where I'm going to go with it, though. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with it. Like, I have some tracks, I have a lot of different demos, and then at some moment, like, I know where this is going now, let's go 100% that way. I had it with Rise. I had a few versions until we have this one, and then I called Martin, which is also a producer from Zonderling, like let's finish the track together, because I had this vision, like I know where this is going, and suddenly the track was done with Martin. It was finished, because the other project I was like, maybe I can try this, and I try it and it doesn't sound as good as it should, like in my head, so I try something else, and I try something else, and I try something else. I'm like, oh, if I do this with Martin, it would be amazing, and I do it, and I think it's a good track.
It's also a very uplifting track, I would say. Was that important to you?
I had a lot of emo tracks that are already like more emotional, a little bit more sad, and Rise was one of the most uplifting and positive message track that I had that was ready. And it's funny because I was more looking for another track than Rise to release, but then in the end we chose Rise, and actually it's the perfect track, because I feel like there's a lot of music that is kind of sad at the moment, like it's very melancholic, or like talking about COVID, or we've been at home, or we've been sad, and then this track is coming in, it's more happy, it's more like uplifting, like you just said. So I think we did a good choice with this one.
And then there's a line in there, I feel stronger than I've ever been. And now, this is kind of maybe far-fetched, but I thought maybe that is very apt for where you are now. Are you in a really good place now?
I'm in a good place. Like my studio is made, I can produce in my studio, which has always been my dream. And I after 1 year at home, I know my team around me are still there. They're still gonna go 100% for me, and I know that means a lot for me. So that's also a very good place. I know I have my whole setup with the live band, where I can go. I know what I can do with it, and everybody is also super good in this team. And then my little team when we go to DJ sets, also everything is super nice. So everything is like powered up to really push it forward, and I think that's a super great place to be able to do the next steps.
So maybe, I'm not sure, but maybe I asked the same question in the first time we spoke, but it's 5 years ago.
Yeah,
5 years ago.
Same
so
questions.
It might be interesting to see if anything's changed, but
okay.
How do you see success?
So how do I see my success?
No, not just success in general.
How do I see success? Achieving my dreams. My dream was to be, my real dream since the start was to have my own studio, but like a nice studio, not like a stellar studio with no lights. You know, like now I have my studio with acoustic treatment. I can work all night long. No, I'm gonna bother nobody. There is natural light coming in. I have some hardware that I can use, but I use like a lot of software, a lot of hardware. I can do whatever I want, and if I want to use stuff, I can just plug it in. I can use it, and that's been my dream. And so I think that's my success. It's my studio. And but now that that's been done, I think I'm gonna really focus to try to grow the Lost Frequencies live shows, because I think there's still a lot to do, and also in the electronic music scene there is so much possibility with, you can connect so much different things into one laptop and create so much different setups, that I want to push that forward and maybe try to do new things, and because it's so exciting. One of my favorite parts when I create music, like I have the production part that I really like, then the mixing and mastering I don't really like, because it takes time and it's kind of the same than the previous one, but we have to do it. And then the transfer from having the production into a live project and bringing it live and bringing it to the people, that's also another dimension that I really enjoy, because it's like, now I made this in my studio, and now we're going to bring it outside and put it on festivals, put it on venues, and this change is one of my favorite moments too. Yeah.
And the final thing then, because I also read that you, because of this orientation towards the live shows, that you've been more listening more to indie music, more to pop music, and
yes.
just different styles. What have you noticed where your tastes go? For instance, we mentioned playing the guitar. Have you listened to some guitarists and tried to figure out what you like about the guitar?
Okay, so being 1 year at home, I don't think my music taste changed. Like if I'm going to go to a festival, I'm still going to enjoy 100% the DJs that I liked 1 year ago.
Sure.
But I get inspired, I guess, from other kind of music, because I had the time to listen to so much different kind of music. And I did the teaching, I was learning the guitar, and my teacher, he's trying to get me all the different kinds of way of playing the guitar, and there's so much different. Once you try to play like a different kind, you play other chords, but you play it in a different way, and it's such a new world that I didn't especially know, because I'm probably more like the obvious way of playing the guitars, but there's like all these little like from the Poland side, like playing very fast, and some chords and some very minor things, and then there is like more African bass playing the guitars. Like it's so much different ways of playing the guitar that I'm discovering now, that I'm like, oh, I want to use this in the production, and now I want to use this in the production, so it gets me inspired, so that's super fun.
That's good to hear. I have two final questions. One is very easy. Is there any instrument that you have thought of learning next, or is there something that you're interested in?
If there one instrument I would try to learn after, I think it would be the drums,
okay.
Because then I can do my whole live show alone.
You can loop pedal and just do everything.
Loop pedal, drums, guitar. No, but I like to be with more people on stage. Okay. But I think it would be the drums also, because then I can maybe connect like a little MIDI drum in my studio and have more a real feel, you know, like in the pattern of drums. But other than that, I think with the keyboards and the guitar, I can pretty much cover a lot of instruments now on the software. So
that's great. Final question then. What does 2021 look like for you? You have Rise now. This is kind of the precursor, as I said. What can people expect from you?
So in 2021, I think we're gonna release a new track still before the summer. It's a really cool track. It's funny because I listened to this, so it's gonna be my next single. I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but I just want to say like the arrangement is it's weird because there is like the vocal coming in, but then there is no real chorus on the vocal part, but it's more the instrumental that is the chorus. So I was listening to the track and I'm like, do you think people are going to understand the arrangement? I think it's kind of obvious, but still it's different. There is a lot of chords changing and stuff, so I'm super curious to see how people are going to react to that track. And I'm going to do a new live stream with new music I've been producing, and we have some shows coming up in July, August, September, so I'm super excited.
Very good to hear. Felix, thanks as always for taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you for having me.